What if I told you that getting ahead of 99% of people wasn't about looks, intelligence, raw talent? It wasn't about any of that. It's about doing very simple things over and over again that virtually anybody can do. And it takes about 5 minutes a day. But most people won't do it. Stay with me through the end of this video, and I'm going to give you a specialized blueprint on exactly how to do this. So let's jump right in. So, who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I'm Professor Paul. I've taught at 3 different universities. I've won multiple teaching awards. I've got 4 different degrees all the way through the doctorate. I've run multi-million-dollar mental health facilities. I'm the guy who trains the guy who would train the therapist that you or a friend might go to. I'm CEO of Advanced Ideas, one of the largest education online companies in America. And I have spent decades studying psychology. Why? So I can bring the best tools, strategies, and techniques to you. And that's what I'm going to do right now. Now, the first step in this blueprint is realization. It's the realization that most people are lazy as hell. They sit there doom scrolling on their phone. They're trying to get to the next Netflix episode. They're asking Siri or their Echo Dot, Alexa, different questions, calling their phone, friends on their phone, and they're talking for hours and hours and hours. It's just absolutely insane. And they're like, hey, I should go out tonight and go drink it with friends. They do anything to drive themselves to distraction. Distraction after distraction after distraction. And pretty soon their entire life slips away. If you even take a fraction of this time back and you start using it effectively, you'll be massively successful. I also want you to understand how low the bar is set. It's set amazingly low. I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. When I look at the Royal Island of St. Pete, that's about 450,000 people. Do you know how many gyms we have in that square area? Well, there's only about 4 main gyms. I've got a membership, so I go back and forth between 2 of them. And at any given point in the day, I'll go in there and there'll be 30 to 50 people in there. It's lightly full. It's never really full. And if I went during the downtimes, there'd probably be less than a dozen people there, and I'd feel like I had the whole place to myself. Now, this is on an island pushing 500,000 people. So I don't think anything like 1% of people even have a gym membership, and out of those, probably 1 in 10 actually use it on a regular basis. So if you were to go to the gym just twice a week, you would beat out 99.9% of all people in terms of going to the gym and taking really great care of your health. That's how low the bar is set. I was telling you earlier, hey, I got 4 degrees all the way through the doctorate. But I looked up a statistic and it said that the average person, they've just gotten through their bachelor's. They got 4 years in. Hardest degree you ever do in your whole life. The other ones actually go easier, even though they're supposed to be more advanced. It's hard learning how to get through school. But that person that's supposed to be intelligent in at least the top 25 to 30% of the country, they will only read 1 book on their field between now and when they retire. I mean, we're talking about a 45 plus year career, and they can only be bothered to read 1 book. That would be like reading 2 or 3 sentences once a week for your entire career. You get through a whole book. That's all they can be bothered to do. Look down, read a sentence, and look away. They do that about once a week. That's as much information as they get. That's insane. You could read a book a month, go very leisurely, take a half an hour off from TV time, and just pour through the book, enjoy it, learning, growing, developing, becoming more. And at the end of a year, you have read 12 books. You will beat them by a factor of 12x. That is how low the bar is set. You're sitting here doing YouTube videos. That probably puts you in the top 5% of the country, that you're willing to look at a video, even just 1 or 2 during the course of a year. You may be doing far more than that. But if you were to watch, say, 3 trainings from YouTube in the course of a year, you'd be beating out like 95% of the country easily. Go ahead and watch 1 a month, and you'll be beating out about 99% of the country. And what did you do? You spent about 3 or 4 hours studying per year. That is how low the bar is set. People keep trying to do what they know, which is very little. They do it over and over again, and if they want to be successful, they try to do it longer or harder instead of ever learning how to do it smarter. Don't let that be you. Now, while I'm saying this, go down, like and subscribe my channel, make sure you're getting all my different trainings, and go through my playlist. If you're watching videos like this, then probably 70-80% of my other videos, they pertain to you. The training is all there. It's high quality and just waiting for you for free. Here's the final realization. These people are virtually handing you success. I can remember when I was at university, I was arguing with my buddy Nick, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand stupid people. You know, God must love them because he made so many. And he said, Paul, stop complaining about all the stupid people and all the stupid things that they're doing. Be smart and focus on you. Focus on your future. That was good advice number one that Nick gave me. He said the second thing is you should thank these people every single day for being so stupid. Stupid people don't compete with you for girlfriends, jobs, raises, promotion, business opportunities, every opportunity that's out there. Stupid people are not competing with you. If we got rid of all the stupid people, which probably accounts for at least 60% of the population, your competition would more than double. It might even triple. So thank them every single day because they are not your competition as long as you're not in that category. How do you make sure you're not in that category? Study just a little bit every single day on a regular basis. At least 5 days a week, take the weekends off. But beat them. They are like a parked car. They could be a Porsche. They could have so much talent, so much ability. But hey, I can beat a Porsche on foot when it's parked. And that's what they're like. They're all like these parked cars. I can't explain why they're doing it. Human stupidity. I remember Einstein, he had a quote about human stupidity. He said there's two things that are infinite, the universe and human stupidity. He wasn't really sure about the universe, but he was dead sure about the stupidity. It is limitless. Now, the next strategy is I want to teach you the power of what I call small wins. They're little tiny wins anybody can do. If you put a book on the nightstand by where you watch TV and you read just one page a day, by the end of the year, that's 365 pages. That's somewhere between a very thick book to 2 books inside a year. And remember I told you the average person with a 4-year degree will only read 1 book in their entire career? It takes you about a minute to a minute and a half to read a page. And you would have read basically twice as many books as people read in their whole career in 1 year effortlessly. That's small wins. See, there's an old quote, small steps repeated can complete any undertaking. Because that's what an undertaking is. I got to do this much effort, and if I do everything, the tiny little steps from point A to point B, I'll get from point A to point B, and it will be done. I don't know how many steps that is, but once you tick one off, I'm closer, I'm closer, I'm closer. I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. Small wins, repeat it. It's like compound interest. You know, you put $1 in and you get 10% interest on that. Great. That's actually fairly easy to do in the stock market. Stock market typically is 12%, but let's call it 10. Keep the math easy. About every 7 years, that dollar doubles. Then it doubles again, then it doubles again, then it doubles again. So 1 becomes 2, becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 16, becomes 32, becomes 64, becomes what, 124? I'm not that great at math. And pretty soon, that single dollar will be making more than you earn in an entire year. Why? The power of compound interest. So your small wins are like compound interest. You're going to learn one thing every single day by reading that page. By the end of the year, you've learned 365 things by reading that one page every single day. But it's not going to be the benefit of 365 pages. It's going to be more like you read 1,000. Why? Because certain things are going to interact. It's called synergy. I learned this, but then when I combined it with this, it becomes 3 times more effective. Not twice as effective, 3 times more effective. That's taking small wins and they become compound wins and they become absolutely huge. That's a great strategy. Here's another great way to use those small wins. Simply change one habit once a week or once a day. Find one tiny little habit that you can do. One fun thing that I did was I love to play with my coffee. I love to look up nutrients and supplements and find different things. Now, the easiest way to do it is not to take 20 different pills. For me, it's to put them in a bowl, grind them up, sprinkle them over my protein powder, take a scoop of protein powder every morning, and then I plop that in my coffee, stir it up, and it's all in there. So what's a small win? Well, I originally decided I wanted to keep up my muscle mass because I'm getting older and I'm now working out even more because now I got a full gym membership and everything. So I said, hey, I've got to support that. I don't want to be spending 2 hours in the gym 2-3 times a week and not be getting the full gain. So I start researching it. How can I get more gains without having to do more work? Because I'm essentially a lazy person. Now, I'm probably the hardest working lazy person you know, but you know what I mean. I don't want to do things any harder than I have to. So I learned that protein was absolutely huge. It's probably the number one thing for building muscles. So I put a scoop of protein into my coffee. Then I read an article called Nothing Boring About Boron. And boron is like a trace mineral, and you put it into your protein powder. You just mix it all in, do that scoop in the morning, and it helps to draw testosterone from your body into the muscles, and you get bigger muscles without any additional work. Just put the boron in. Then I learned creatine was really great, not only for your muscles, but now they're finding out it's great for your brain and for other things as well. So I put a little bit of that in. My coffee, I was putting sugar in. Now I put in allulose. It's a non-sugar sweetener, but semi-natural the way they make it. So it's very, very healthy. It actually has several health benefits. And of course, you're not getting all the calories from the sugar. I think an entire tablespoon goes from like 10 calories down to like 1/10 of a calorie or less. So it's like only like 9% of the calories as if you were using sugar. That's another small win. But think of yourself putting 3 scoops of sugar in your coffee, and it's pure sugar. And you do that 365 times. That's going to be well over 1,000 scoops of sugar. All of a sudden cut down to about 80 scoops of sugar. You look at how much sugar that is, and you look at how much you put in a year, and you say, wow, I saved myself all that sugar. And yet it tasted exactly the same. That's a small win becoming a huge win. And that'll cut down on your weight. That'll be anti-aging. That will cut down on insulin resistance. It's going to help you out a lot of different ways. That's a small win. Learn one thing today that I can use for my entire future. And then set it up so it's on autopilot. I just do that scoop. Now I've got like 20 different things that's in that one scoop of protein. But do I have to do 20 different things to make it happen, or just the one? Yeah, I still just do the one scoop. I put it all in there. So once a month I prep it, and then I never have to do it again. Saves me hours and hours and hours. These are small wins. Learn the power of them and make them work for you. Here's another way to use small wins. Always be looking for the better choice. You're watching some TV at night and you're like, geez, I really love grapes, but I also love donuts. Which one should I pick? Pick the grapes over the donuts. You like them both pretty much equally. Even if you like the donut a little bit more, still grab the grapes. That's a small win. And it'll be meaningless on any given day, week, month, or year. But do that over 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, and it will change everything. That's a small win. I used to try to park my car as close as I could to, the front of, say, Walmart when I was going shopping. And then I realized I actually need to get more steps in. So I should be parking my car farther away. A few more steps in, a few more steps out. I laughed when I saw this at the gym. People that were going there to work out for 2 hours wanted to get the closest space to the door so they didn't have to walk a couple of extra steps in or out. Do you know how insane that is? You're there for the exercise. You should be parking 5 or 6 businesses, maybe 6 blocks away, and walking back and forth. But that's not what they were doing, because we are so used to doing minimal behaviors instead of maximum behaviors. It's a law of conservation that you have in your brain. It's almost on autopilot and it's mindless. I want you to start making better choices. Reading the book at night, the grapes over the donuts, walking the few extra steps. Always make the better choice. These are simple, easy things. And pretty soon, within about 14 to 21 days, probably a little closer to 21 days, depending upon who you like in the literature, these things become a habit and they're almost effortless. Want to really kick your wins up a notch? Suck it up, Buttercup. I want you to start doing at least one uncomfortable thing a day. You say, well, I don't really want to go for a walk. Go for a walk around the block. Learn to make your discomfort relatively unimportant. I mean, it's one of the first things that my Kung Fu instructor taught me. He said, Paul, you will gain power once you consider your own discomfort is relatively unimportant. When people start deciding, hey, am I going to go to the gym? Am I going to do some push-ups? Am I going to do some sit-ups? Am I going to lift some weights? Based on whether that's going to make them comfortable or uncomfortable, you're always going to choose not to do it. If you say my discomfort is unimportant, getting my goals accomplished is everything, then the choice is always to do the positive action. So do the uncomfortable thing. I said, hey, read a page a night. Well, maybe you need to read a half an hour a night. I started with the page a night, and then I said, hey, Paul, would you care to do 2 pages and double your results? And I did 2 pages, took me 3 minutes. Then I really felt like a hero. But at some point, I started setting standards. I'm going to do at least a half an hour a night. Now I can do 30 minutes, I can do 35 minutes, I can do 45 minutes, I can do an hour. But I do a minimum, it's a bit of discomfort, do a half an hour every single night of reading. And pretty soon that discomfort goes away, because when you feel like you're forcing yourself to do something, there's some discomfort. But when you feel like, hey, this is just something I have to do, you just do it. You do it mindlessly. There's minimal or no discomfort. Discomfort fades away. And most of the time I end up doing a little bit extra, because every single minute after 30 minutes, I feel like I'm a hero and I'm really gaining. I'm getting that unfair advantage. And that's what I want for you. Go ahead and push yourself a little bit. Spend that extra half hour at work so you can get that raise or that promotion. Do an extra shift once a week so you can put some money in your pocket so you can start investing in yourself. That extra shift every week goes right in your pocket, and it may double or triple the amount of savings you have. Start judging yourselves by how much you save, not by how much you earn. 90% of what you earn is going right into somebody else's pocket. It's those last few dollars that go in yours. That's when you need to do the discomfort. When your buddies say, hey, let's go out drinking tonight, and you said, geez, I already went out twice this week. Let's skip one. Take that, $50 you would have spent on drinks, put it right into an investment account. Let your body heal up while they're wearing theirs down, and win 2 different ways. It's going to be discomfortable. You're going to say, geez, I hate to miss an event with my friends and blah, 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 blah. Believe me, they're not doing anything exciting out there. So learn to make your own discomfort literally unimportant. Want to really get ahead? Want to really be powerful? Learn to harness the power of pain. I need you to toughen up a little bit. Most people out there, they don't have a lot of mental toughness. And they certainly don't have any physical toughness, because that takes mental toughness first. So learn to do the harder thing. When I graduated from high school, God, I feel like I've been there like 12 years. I didn't ever want to go to school again. I took a year or 2 off, and I worked at Montgomery Ward's store. I was running my own little department there. Wasn't a great job, but I was starting out and working my way up in the company. But after about 2 years, they didn't give me a raise. They didn't give me a promotion. Nothing was happening. I was working for low wages, and I said, that's fine, because that's just a starting salary, but it wasn't moving anywhere. Then I said, hey, if I'm going to be lonely, broke, tired, and disappointed, I'm going to do it with a degree, because I could already have been halfway through a 4-year degree and then made 50% more for the rest of my life and never had to work 1 extra hour. I said, aha, I didn't want to go to school because I looked at how much work it was to get a 4-year degree. And I said, no. You looked at it backwards. Look how much work it is to not do a 4-year degree and then have to work an extra 20 hours a week for life just to make the same amount of money as that crazy guy who got a 4-year degree. That's too much work. That's way too much work. So I reversed my thinking, and I went and I got the degree. I was willing to go through all the pain. And I'll tell you, Daddy and Mommy did not pay for my college. I did 4 degrees. I think my parents paid for half of 1 degree. I couldn't hardly get any college loans because my parents were making too much money, so I didn't get any grants or anything like that. I was paying up to 11% interest at one point on my college loans. I mean, I was paying my college loans into my 50s. But it was crazy. And I worked full-time, part-time. I was cheating in master's courses. It was painful. But every stroke of that gave me the tools, strategy, techniques that I'm sharing with you here today. It made me a millionaire, and it gave me the lifestyle that I wanted. And it made me strong. It made me healthy. I think it made me a better person. Mental toughness is a good thing. Don't always avoid pain. A lot of times when you avoid pain, you're doing what? That's right. You're doubling it. Let me teach you something else that my Kung Fu instructor taught me. Write this down. He said pain and power are two sides of the same coin. They're the same thing. They're attached. They're connected. You can't have one without first having the other. He said, Paul, don't think of your pain as this horrible thing you went through. It's a lesson. It toughened you up, and it can be used to make you stronger and therefore make your future better. So pain and power are two sides of the same coin. You want to get stronger. You got to go to the gym. You got to go through the pain. The pain equals power. So stop thinking of it as pain and start thinking of it as power. I'm getting better, faster, stronger, smarter. Everything is going in my direction. Why? See, interesting piece of psychology. Psych 101 says here's the whole of psychology almost. It's like 90% of everything you need to know about psychology out there. The human brain, it moves towards pleasure and away from pain. Towards pleasure and away from pain. Your brain is hardwired to move away from pain. The very thing that is going to allow you to become smart, powerful, wealthy, healthy, have great relationships. You need that pain to gain that power. Don't get fooled by your mind. Your mind is constantly working against you. Until you start taking courses like this, figure out how it's fooling you, and then going in the opposite direction. So pain and power are the same thing. I want you to run towards it and not away from it, at least in the areas where it makes sense, right? I love this quote. Write this one down too. Everybody suffers one of two unavoidable pains. The pain of sustained effort or the pain of regret. Sustained effort weighs ounces, regret weighs pounds. So you can't actually avoid pain. You can delay it, you can put it off where it'll multiply, but you can't get rid of it. It's like the person who has the pain and says, geez, I'd rather go out drinking with my buddies than put this $100 into my savings account for my retirement. But then when they retire, and that would have been enough to buy them, a cruise in the Bahamas, then they really missed that $100 that was there because it didn't multiply, it didn't work for them. When they're choosing between food and medicine, not a night out with the buddies versus I hang out at home and watch Netflix, it becomes, do I buy food or do I buy medicine? What do I do? And I feel sad and I feel like a failure. Why? Because time after time after time, when I had the choice of putting $100 away and guaranteeing my future, I said, I'll sell my future for a hint of pleasure now that can't be found in the morning. So don't regret your life. Put in the sustained efforts that you need to put in to create the life of your dreams. Otherwise, you're going to look back over your life and you will have that pain. You will have that regret. Matter of fact, there's something that they call the deathbed scenario. And most people, and this is profound to a lot of people, it was profound to me when I first heard it, was that they don't feel bad about the things they did as much as the things that they didn't do. The chances they didn't take, the person they didn't ask out, the business they didn't start, the things that they didn't do with their kids, the risks they didn't take, the way they repressed themselves instead of expressed themselves, the things they didn't do, the things that were painful but would have made their life dramatically different. That's the deathbed scenario. So start looking back on your decisions of today as if you were on your deathbed tomorrow. And a lot of times when you do that, they look a lot different. Now let's talk about what I call the ladder of growth. let's go back and let's look at an overview of the 3 steps that I've taught you so far. Basically, you do those tiny little small wins, and that starts building some momentum. Then you do things that take a little bit of effort. You have to experience some discomfort, and that creates momentum, and you start accelerating. And that gives you courage. And then you move on and you do a few things that cause you some pain, but they help you to grow stronger, more powerful, and they 10x your results, and that creates strength. So, momentum, courage, strength. Small wins, a little bit of discomfort, add in a pinch of pain, and you got a great formula for making you massively successful. Because you just did the 3 things that 99% of people or more will not do on any kind of regular basis. And then they'll all sit there and they'll wonder what happened, and they'll blame luck and, their status and their color and, their background and the government and taxes and bad luck and I don't know what. They'll blame anything except the usual suspect. Who is in charge of your future? You. I'll tell you, I've had every bad break a person can ever have. Well, a good chunk of them, right? And every time I fell down, every time I was cheated, every time it was stolen away from me, things that I had worked for, I could sit there and cry and make a big puddle underneath me, or I could just drive on and say, you knocked me down, but you didn't beat me. Rocky in one of his movies said, here's how you become a champion. Get up one more time and they knock you down. That's the secret. Have a really hard head and don't quit. You can't beat the person that won't quit. You're not a failure because you had a failure. You're a failure if you had a failure and then you quit. Keep going. That's why it's so important to do the small wins, then a little bit of discomfort, and then pain, because it will toughen you up so that virtually nothing in life, if they wipe out everything you have, you will be able to rebuild it. You'll build it better, faster, and stronger. And you'll do what I did. I made a business that was so great, I called it my revenge business. I was working this business and I made more in a year than I made my entire life. Why? Because I was motivated not from all my gains and all my wins, but from all my losses. This is my heartfelt wish for you. I want you to be massively successful. I hope you don't have a lot of the challenges and a lot of the losses that I had. My life should have gone smooth many times. I should have made my fortune, 20, 30 years ago. I kept getting beaten down. But you can't keep a good man down. And you can't keep you down. Because you're no different than me. You can make it happen. I have absolute faith in you. This whole channel is about my faith in you. I want you to have all the tools, strategies, and techniques that you need to have the life of your dreams, and you don't ever have to send me a single penny. I'm just giving this all away for free. I want you to have this. I'm watching so many people out there suffering. It breaks my heart, and that's what spurred me to do this channel. This is just kind of a hobby for me. It's not a real business. I want you to go out there and be massively successful. And now I've given you the 3 key strategies you need so that you will be in the top 1% or higher with minimal effort. Now it's up to you. I wanted to share something with you, and it's, kind of special to me. It's a quote, and I'll tell you, this quote took me through a lot of bad times. It was so great that I put it into a poster. I'll try to scan this maybe through my printer scanner and maybe put it down in the comment section below as a link so you can go ahead and grab this. But I love this quote. It says, if we did all the things we are capable of doing, we would literally astound ourselves. It told me that I have all the power that I need already. I just have to tap into it. That's the secret to success. And I paired it with another one, which was equally powerful. I love this one, the little ant on it. It says, the successful person does the work the failure will not do. I'll tell you, this got me through starting my first couple of businesses. This got me through 4 different degrees. This got me through a lot of hard times in life. Me and this stupid ant have been along together for a long time. I had to put it in plastic so it didn't turn too yellow. I've had this for decades. The successful person does the work the failure will not do. And that's exactly what this entire training is about. So I'll try to make a copy of this and put it in the description below. So go ahead and look for that. It'll be free. I want you to have the life of your dreams, but I want to make sure that you don't get in your way. You are always the limiting obstacle. But that's the good news. You are entirely responsible for your success, which is good, because responsibility comes from the word response. It's literally responsibility, your ability to respond. Whenever something happens, you can take a different action, make things go a different way, make things go in your favor. I want you to be responsible, not as the arbitrator of guilt and fault, and you're responsible, so that means, hey, you're bad and you're wrong and this is terrible and it's screwed up and it's all your fault. No, responsibility means I can respond differently. I'm not blaming the government, so I don't have to go beg the government to change, because they're not going to, except for the worst, right? To make my life better. I don't blame my boss, because I can fire him and go get a better boss. And I've done that 3 times, I think, in my career. I actually fired my boss. How cool is that? I don't blame my parents. Hell, my parents are dead and gone. Who am I going to blame now? So I like when I have responsibility, because responsibility to me means I have the power to change my life. When I give away responsibility and I can't respond, I become what? Powerless. Never give away your responsibility. Take that. That's your personal power, your power to direct your life and get the kind of results that you want. And I think those 2 quotes, they really help to make that sink in, and they'll help you through the hard times too.